I just feel like jelly gets the raw end of the deal here. It's always peanut butter first, and then jelly. Why can't we call it jelly and peanut butter sometimes?
Stir to Cody.
Oh,
hey, didn't see there.
so it's Dan and Andrew back again to tell you what's going on in our classes for today. And so we're starting off the day talking about the scriptural basis of the Eucharist and how the Eucharist doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. It's the last in a long line of covenants. And these covenants are beginning all the way back to the fall, Adam and Eve. So we realize that there is a separation between us and God, that we are a people that are in need of saving. That's what our whole religion is based off of, is this idea that we need God and we need to be saved. And from the very beginning of time, God has desired that union with us. And when Adam and Eve first sinned, they lost that union with God. And God has been trying to bring us back to himself ever since then. So first with Adam and Eve, he makes a covenant to this holy couple. With Noah, he makes a covenant with a family. With Moses, he makes a covenant with a tribe. And continuing on with Abraham, he makes a covenant with a tribe. With Moses, what's the next bigger thing? A nation. With Moses, he makes a covenant with a whole nation. And with David, he makes a covenant with a kingdom. But finally in the Eucharist, God has prepared his people. He's prepared us to receive this covenant that is for all of humanity, through all times, in all places. The Eucharist is for everyone. And this is the culmination of this long journey. So we're telling our campers how the Eucharist, it's not as though we could have just dropped that into the situation that Adam and Eve were in. This was something that built up over time, and it only makes sense in terms of that long history. And now we have the last covenant, the final covenant, the perfect covenant that will never fade away, and that is our taste of heaven here on earth and our means to get to heaven.
Wednesday afternoon, we're going to be talking about the Eucharist as God's gift of mercy. Wednesday evening, we're going to be celebrating the sacrament of reconciliation with our campers and then go into a time of Eucharistic adoration. So we always like to talk about mercy in Wednesday afternoon class. And when we look at who God is, his entire being is that of mercy. And when we think of mercy, we think of someone very powerful, not inflicting a punishment that is due or that is just unto someone that is lower than them. And we as a human race, ever since the fall, have made an eternal debt towards God. And what does God do to appease that debt? He gives us his son and crucifies his son for us. And there's a beautiful, wonderful quote from St. Teresa of Calcutta, that when we look at the cross, we know that Jesus loved us then. When we look at the Eucharist, we know that Jesus loves us now. And so when God continues to give us the Eucharist, when he continues to pour himself out to us so that we can have him right now, it is God's continuing mercy in our life so that we can see him, get to know him, and also receive him into our very being. That, like us, as our sin, like in all of our sinfulness and all of our wrongdoings, we get to take the perfect God and receive him so that we can become more like him, because he desires us so much.